Hi guys, Jamie Humphries here for Six String Alliance, and today's quick riff is Tom Sawyer by Rush.
A modern day warrior, me means stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, me mean pride. No, his mind is not for rent. Don't put him down as arrogant. His reserve a quiet defense, writing out the day's events. The river. What you say about his company is what you say about society. Catch the mist, catch the myth, catch the mystery, catch the drift. The world is love and life are deep. Maybe as his skies are wide.
So I've just taken part in not one, but two collaborative videos here on YouTube. The first being with my very good friend and partner in crime, Warren Hewitt, over on Produce Like a Pro. Warren's done a fantastic breakdown of this track. And so I looked at all of the guitar parts, including the solo, in not quite as much detail as we're going to be looking at the rhythm parts today, but we'll come to that momentarily. But it was more of an analysis of the parts and just going through what was going on. Now, also, the video over on the Produce Like a Pro includes guests Adam Still from Hot Pole Studios, my good friend Adam, who does a great breakdown of the bass and keyboard parts. And also we have drummer Cameron Fleury as well, who does a breakdown of the drum parts. Now, as well as that, myself, Adam and Cameron have collaborated on a full performance of the track, which you saw a little teaser, a little intro part of this at the beginning of this video. But if you want to watch that video performance in full, you can head on over to Hot Pole. So there are two links for you to follow before we get into the lesson. Check out Warren's fantastic video and also check out Adam's video. So lots of collaborative efforts looking at this fantastic song by Rush. Now, I am a fan of Alex Lifeson, not so much his lead playing. It's never really appealed to me. That's not to say that he's not a fantastic lead player, but I was really drawn to his rhythm playing, and he's really inspired two guitar players that have had quite a profound effect on me, John Petrucci and Ty Tabor. Now, I've always been sort of drawn towards guitar players that have a little bit more going on with their rhythm playing, not so much power chords and straight major and minor chords, but have richer harmonic content to the chords, bigger chord voicings and more elaborate chord extensions. I also feel that guitar players that are in a three-piece band have more space to fill. Yes, Rush do utilize keyboards, but predominantly they are a trio. The same with the Police and also with King's X, although King's X never have any keyboards. It's just guitar, bass, drums, and the three of them singing. But all of them have to kind of adapt their guitar playing to fill a much wider space. That's not also to say that the bass players don't do the same job as well. Obviously, there's a lot more space. Listen to the bass tone of Geddy Lee and listen to the bass tone of Doug Pinnock. Two mighty bass tones that really do fill a large portion of the mix, whilst the guitar player kind of fills another area of the mix, both sonically and also harmonically. Tom Sawyer is taken from the 1981 Moving Pictures album, and Geddy Lee has gone on record as to say that he feels that this is the band's defining track of the 1980s. It is an incredibly popular track, and it is a real standout track for the band in terms of the composition and orchestration. It has that melodic hook, that melodic rock feel about it, but then dips its toe into progressive rock with the instrumentation and the use of multiple sections and different time signatures. So for this lesson, I wanted to take a look at two of my favourite riffs. There are a multitude of sections of this track that I could have looked at, but I wanted to look at the two standout parts for me, the two parts that I've always gravitated towards. Now, before we do that, let's just talk a little bit about his guitar sound. During this period, Alex Lifeson was still using predominantly Gibson guitars. He used a 335 and he also used a Howard Roberts, and you can see him playing the Howard Roberts fusion guitar during the performance on the Moving Pictures live concert footage. Now, during this period, Alex was also experimenting with Strats with a humbucker in the bridge. Whether or not that's a direct reference to Eddie Van Halen, I'd like to think it is. I think most guitar players in the late 70s and early 80s, kind of post Van Halen 1, started chiseling out their Strats and fitting PAFs to it. For amps, Alex was using the Marshall Club and Country combo, but for his driven tones, it was more so from the high watt amplifiers. He was also using loft choruses, although as we enter more into the 80s, he started to use the spatial expander, which is an effect that I love using. I have the plug-in version of the TC spatial expander. So when it's come to the tone today, we all know that I love to use Mesa Boogie amps if you watch my videos, but recently I acquired a Helix thanks to my friends at Line 6. I've been chatting with them for a while about getting a Helix, mainly actually to replace my old Echo and Mod Pros in my rack. If you've seen some of my earlier Six String Alliance videos that were shot in my control room, you saw the Rack of Doom. So at some point, the Helix is going to go into the rack. It's got to have a bit of a rewire. But I chose to use the Helix today for this lesson. Now, I'm using a model of a high watt amp, and I've just got a 70 style chorus in front of it. Now, before anyone else painfully points out to me that I have all this DSP power and I'm only using 3 blocks, someone wrote that on a picture I posted the other day. I was like, well, it's all I needed. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit old school with the way that I record, and although the Helix does so much stuff and I have been programming some sounds, I still like to do a lot of post-production. So for this lesson, I've kept it a little bit simple. I don't want to go and put loads of stuff on the sound and then be like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. So I'm just using the chorus effect and the amp, but I'm using the Helix in its, I guess, in its purest way. You know, let's hear the amp model without a whole bunch of stuff going on. So at some point I will do more involved work with the Helix here on the channel, but as I said, I like to do post-production stuff, so we've kept it a little bit simple. Now, for the guitar, I have a brand new guitar. I'm a little bit happy with this instrument. Some of you may know I've been working with the Ernie Ball Music Man Company now for 24 years this year. And we've been chatting about getting a new guitar in the studio because a lot of the guitars that I play are either custom built or older models. So Music Man were quite keen for me to play one of the current Axis guitars, and they just released a couple of new guitars. I had one on order, and then this BFR came out, and so I wrote to them, and they were rather generous in sending me, this is the actual guitar that was used for all of the adverts, all the promo shots that you see, because there was only, I think, 55 of the guitars made, which sold out pretty quickly. So I'm very fortunate to have this guitar. This is a stunning guitar. I won't go into too much detail about it because I'm doing a video, but check that out on the back. It's got a beautiful a maple back on it as well, but video of that to come. So today we're using the Axis BFR into the Helix. So let's take a look at the first riff. We kick things off with an E major chord. This next chord that we have is an E7 with a sus4. It's a nice stacked voicing, that. And again, it has quite an ambiguous sound because we don't have the major third in it. And we always have that open low E string, that low root note. We then have an A7 sus4, but again, we play that open E. The next chord that we have uses the same shape as that E7 sus4 chord, but we just dropped it down a whole tone, and this is a D9 with a sus4, but with the E in the bass. So again, quite an interesting sound. So let's put those chords together. Okay, then we conclude that progression with a C-add9, a G over B, an A7 sus4, and then that C-add9, G over B, and the A7 sus4. So that little figure just tags on the end. Okay, let's put that first portion of the riff together. Now, the second time this riff goes around, we see some variations. We have the E chord. Then we jump to this D shape of E major, and we're just swapping between E and E sus4, just adding our little finger. It's the same as if you played D, D to D sus4. We're moving up a whole tone, and we're playing E to E sus4. We have this. Then we have the E7 sus4. And then what we do there, we just drop our little finger down onto the B string and bring our first finger up onto the G string. So we have this A minor sixth. So you're swapping between the A minor sixth and that E7 sus4. So you get... The next chord after that, we have our A7 sus4. But then we get rid of our little finger. We play the F sharp, which is the sixth. And then we play the open top E. And then we have the... Now, I've seen a video where Alex Lifeson says that he drops down onto the G to the F sharp. Now, I listened to the isolated track and I could not hear that. So I don't know whether the piece has just evolved. That's what Geddy Lee plays, but I can still hear him playing the C, which leads into the next section. So section's a little bit up for debate. Maybe I should trust what Alex Lifeson says in his breakdown, but I'm trusting my ears when I listen to the isolated track. So... maybe you guys can offer a little bit of an insight. There's two versions there. Play whichever one you like, I guess. I don't think it really matters too much. So let's put that whole first section together. So let's have a listen. Here we go. Really filling a lot of space with those chord voicings. You know, really watch out when you're forming the chords to make sure that you're not muting out any of the strings. You really want all of those notes. You know, those chord clusters have a real stylistic sound about them. Also, keep your picking hand nice and relaxed. In terms of the tone, yes, I'm using a driven tone, but I'm being a little bit careful with that because I've got the front end chorus. We don't want it to become too mushy. So, you know, watch out how much gain you use there because we don't want too much dissonance. You know, you want the notes to ring out, but you still want a heavy driven sound. There's kind of a little bit of a balance there to be met when you're setting your tone up. So now on to the next portion. This is one of the most challenging sections of the track, and this is, again, one of my favourite sections. I think I love this so much because it's so Titable, or should I say that Titable really is inspired by this. This is one of the things I love about Ty's playing, which obviously comes from Alex's playing. And this is the chord arpeggio section. The chords that he's playing, let's just talk about the chords first of all. We have an E5, but he doubles up the B note on the B string. So then after that, we are adding the F sharp. Okay, and then after that, we play an E minor chord, which is still that E5 voicing, but we just put the G in the bass. So it's an inversion of an E minor. So the chords so far. And then we have this A sus2. So the most important notes of the chord arpeggio are going to be the first note, which is the E, and the last note, the B. Then the F sharp and the B, the G and the B, and the A and the B. Now, on the original recording, when he's playing the notes in between those notes, he's sometimes hitting the A string, sometimes hitting the D string. I think I pretty much hit the A string, so I'm going... And then when I go to the A chord, then I play the A and the D string. Putting that together in time, it's quite a fiddly part. Okay, then we have the E5 again. Then we have this B major 7. Then we have the E5, but we're playing from the B note. Then we have the A sus2. Play the open A and the D. Play the third fret E. So let's put that together. Now, again, I don't really think it matters too much what you're picking in the middle if you strike the D string. If you strike more than one string, as long as you get the root note and that B note, so the first and the last note. So those are the important notes. So let's just put that together one more time at a slower tempo. Here we go. Now we finish off with that A5 or an open A. It's an A tonality to a B sus2 with the F sharp in the bass. So there's some fantastic chords. So let's pick the tempo up on that section. I'm playing a little bit of an abbreviated version of it for you. And obviously, if you want to see, the chord shapes and the fingerings that I'm playing, be sure to download the free tab. The link is in the description. So now to wrap things up, let's just put those sections all together. Here we go. that's a fantastic riff for you to learn. It's got some great chord voicings as well as that chord arpeggio. So there's a little bit of a workout for both your left and right hands. Be sure to check out the full performance over on Hot Pole Studios and show a little bit of support to Adam for his incredibly hard work. It was a lot of fun putting that performance together, and also check out Warren's fantastic breakdown and analysis of the song. And as usual, don't forget to click the link in the description to download the free tab and guitar profile. That's it from me. If you don't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.